Hey, it's Monster, one half of your dynamic hosting duo of the Nerdy Man Room Show. Proudly bringing you another Man Room short. Enjoy, and as always, please remember, viewer discretion is advised.
Let me ask you this, because this is one of the questions I had, as far as your horror movies and stuff is, we're talking about rebooting and what we're trying to get into is, hey, respect the mythology, but what's the other mythologies out there right now that are left to delve into that we haven't been getting? We talked about the lack of horror movies before. We're still repeating the same ones over and over. What out there is left? What have we not delved into that we need to? That's the
Well, there's a zombie on every channel at this point.
yeah,
There's
and
a
it's
new Evil Dead reboot coming up right now, and Sam Raimi's got his hands in it. But I mean, let's be honest, even with Sam Raimi having his hands in it, I mean, at what point is it going to be comedy? Or is it going to be horror? So you just don't know. I was a big fan of when I heard they were trying to reboot the Universal Monsters into a shared universe.
yeah. See, I'd like to see that.
But there was so much gray area in what they were trying because we got that Dracula Untold movie, and that was actually a pretty good movie, and it set up a great sequel. I thought it was good, and it was and by the end of it, it's in modern time. So the Wolfman was supposed to be the next installment of that, and even though it was set in the 1800s, you set up okay, we can move on with this. Then they come up with Tom Cruise's The Mummy, and that movie just nosedived.
I tried to watch that movie 3 times, and I didn't make it past 20 minutes in the movie any time before I fell asleep.
I toughed it out, but it was too Mission Impossible possible for me. I didn't care for it. It wasn't good. It didn't. It felt like Mission Impossible mixed with Brandon Fraser's The Mummy.
Yeah, I can't really speak to what it felt like because I watched 20 minutes before I fell asleep 3 different times.
We missed nothing, and that was what the last nail in the coffin is. We were supposed to have got a Creature from the Black Lagoon, a new Frankenstein, and them done properly. All of these can be. If you want to see these properties done properly in a shared universe, go watch Penny Dreadful. It had
Yeah,
3 seasons on Showtime. Wonderful show. I can't speak highly enough of it. I mean, and you have Dracula in there, you have Frankenstein, you have a Wolfman, you have witches in there, you have various other creatures and things. They do it justice. They treat them all with respect, and you see the true power in some of these characters.
yeah, and I agree with you because that's a great show because I remember watching it. But I guess my question also is too is we're still talking about the same ones being redone. At what point does somebody get creative and say, okay, and don't get me wrong, everything we do is usually a derivative or something else, but at some point, where do we dive in and say, okay, here's a new, yeah, let's just use, Baba Yaga as an example. That's supposed to be the boogeyman in a certain mythology. Why aren't we getting movies about something like that? We're not, and I don't mean the asylum that's on Sci-Fi Channel movies. I mean actual movies. Why are we not delving into other properties that are out there that we don't really see very often?
We saw the peak of the horror slasher boom in the 80s. You had guys like John Carpenter, Wes Craven, and even the cat that Sean Cunningham. Why not? He was the brain behind the adult Jason. These guys like that, they're, I guess, I don't know if they're a dying breed or if studios just aren't backing the ones with the ideas anymore. And we'll never see another Jason movie because the rights are so muddled up at this point. I mean,
Yeah,
and the court case is finally final, but the way it finalized. I mean, the screenwriter from the original play, he owns the rights within the United States to the mother slasher version of it. Sean Cunningham owns the rights to the adult, but he can't make a film without the approval of the other guy because it still plays off of that guy's screenplay.
yeah,
And the other guy, if he made a movie, he couldn't release it outside the United States. I mean, you'll never see another Friday the 13th. I think the studios are too scared to make another Freddy at this point. Michael's fighting strong, and I was kind of hoping that would be the point where maybe some of these guys would give the properties over to Blumhouse because Blumhouse seems to get it right. I mean,
Yeah.
and they're the ones behind the Insidious movies. They're the ones behind Conjuring movies that are making, bukus of money hand over fist. And even those, as popular as they are, you're only going to be able to come out with a couple more of those. I mean, at some point, people are going to be like, okay, we've seen enough of Ed and Lorraine Love, whatever, Warren, and, we're ready to move into something else. So, I mean,
yeah, I guess that's my point. We're going to continue to see a decline if we just keep rehashing the same stuff until somebody puts out something new. And I don't see anything new really coming.
The only thing I've seen new that kind of really piques my interest is the Black Phone. I don't know if you've seen the preview for that. And it's got Ethan Hawke in it, of all people. And he's the guy that you just think he's this creepy child killer. And he wears this like crazy mask and whatnot. But it's got a supernatural twist on it. Like the kids he's killed in this room are calling through this old black phone.
Yeah, I've seen that. I know what you're talking about now.
That actually looks pretty damn interesting. And that actually drops in February. That's some of the few things I've seen of what's coming up. The Terrifier, Art the Clown. Part 2 of that drops sometime this year. It's not specified when. They could do something with that right there, aside from the fact that his kills are so brutal, you can't play them on most channels.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a scene in the first movie, he ties a girl upside down naked and starts with a hacksaw and goes all the way down. If you've ever seen a deer quartered,
no,
it's the same
I've seen
thing.
it. I don't want to see that.
Yes, I mean it's a brutal movie, but I mean it actually was a fun, scary watch. It was like, holy cow! And there's a second part coming out this year.
Yeah, I saw that picture you sent me with that clown, you asshole.
Yeah, they do. I know you'd love that. If they're smart with these two, they can do something with that. They might can move into a franchise. A lot of the other things I've seen coming up for the next year is a lot of rehashing. Hellraiser has 2 different properties coming out. One's going to be on Hulu, which is a reboot movie with a female pinhead.
It's not even so much of the gender swap for me. Again, it's just another reboot of a property we've already seen before. I'd rather hear something fresh. I mean, that's just my take, right? But
if you read the Hellbound Heart, I don't think it ever refers to Pinhead as a he or she. It just says the Hell Priest. So okay, I can give you a little bit of leeway on that right there. Even though I've read the books, and beyond Hellbound Heart in Scarlet Gospel, he is referred to as he many times, even Pinhead a few times. So jury's out on that. There is an HBO Max series that is in development, and Clive Barker himself has got some kind of executive producer role in it. So I'm a little more in lead to put my stock in that one versus the Hulu one. Texas Chainsaw Massacre has got another reboot / sequel / whatever you want to call it on Netflix. It drops in February, and it does play off of the first movie, which that's what Texas Chainsaw 3D done in 2013. It was supposed to be a direct sequel to the first movie. So is this right here. And they bring back Sally Hardesty, the sole survivor of the first movie. So I don't know where it's going to go. Or I've not seen one picture of Leatherface online. They've dropped a couple of trailers, but you still don't get to see Leatherface, which is kind of worrisome. Because anytime you don't tease the monster moving into it, leaves me to believe there's some problems. I mean, Halloween Ends comes out this year. Scream drops this week. Nightmare Alley's out now. That looks it's a little freaky looking. I'm not sure how well it actually be, but it's more of a mind game than an actual. I would like to see the return of a slasher myself. Like, why can we not create the new Jason Voorhees? I mean, and if you've watched the Hatchet movies, Kane Hodder, who was probably the most famous and synonymous name to be next to Jason Voorhees, he plays Victor Crowley. And hell, there's probably 6 of those. I think there's like three different Hatchet movies, and then like 2 two or three different Victor Crowley movies. They're enjoyable little watches. They're fun. There's some brutal kills in them, but then again, it's kind of corny too in some spots.
Yeah.
Some of the kills are really like so brutal and getting corny at the same time. That's like, eh. So I mean, he's the most, as far as a new slasher. That's the only one I've seen in the last 15 years.
Yeah. I just think we're running short on ideas, but